What is going on, folks? It is your boy Blake, Money Blake Weather. Welcome to another episode, Unfiltered Bachelor. It's so fun to be back and do a live thing with y'all. Y'all probably seen me, 9 Nerd Yards, breaking down all the Atlanta bits. And I want to thank everybody who's followed me for my journey from Unfiltered Bachelor, doing 9 Nerd Yards with the whole crew. It's been amazing. And recently I've come back and done a whole bunch of episodes. You can find those Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere podcasts are. That's where the show is. Actually, currently doing a series called We All Want Love. Writing a book currently called We All Want Love. And breaking down all the segments and I think all the important nuances that we all go through, think about, and I think struggle with, because trauma is a struggle. We all struggle with in the journey to finding love, and I don't think it's just love of in a romantic sense, but it's also love of friends, love of family, love of coworkers. Like we just want love. We just want unconditional love. So, with that said, I reached back in the books, and we had one of our amazing guests on while we were doing the Atlanta Breakdown series. You know him, you love him. He's in Atlanta. He's in what is it? Is it the First Lady? Is that what that's called?
First Lady.
First Lady. You seen him in Wakanda. He's got a new project coming out, Chasing Rain. It is Maurice P. Kerry. Maurice, how's it going, man?
It is spectacular, man. I'm feeling good, feeling great. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Mazel Tov to you, all the little L'chaim and everything. Yeah, Kwanzaa to you. whatever you're into, that's fine, you know. Yeah, man. How's it going? So you've got this big project coming out, this Chasing Rain project. It seems like a lot of promotional with that's going on. Give me the down low before we get into this, man.
Well, first off, shouts out to the Baby Brothers who brought me onto the project as one of the leads in the project, Chasing Rain. The teaser trailer comes out tomorrow, so I'm really excited about that. I even haven't seen this, so I'll be enjoying it right along with everybody else, the fans and everybody who's been following and wanting to know more about the film. But basically, it's how can I put this? It's like what was it? Taken? Is that what it's called? Taken. It's a lot like Taken. Liam Neeson, except for with a black family. There's some darker. It's sort of dark. There's a little bit of humor in there. A lot of action, man. I did so many stunts, so it's really action packed. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna be like excited. But I'm really looking forward to the trailer that comes out tomorrow. So that is amazing.
When did you film that particular project?
Gosh, we filmed it over the course of about 6 months this year.
Okay.
It was filmed this year. It'll be out next year. We don't have an actual drop date, but we will be dropping the teaser tomorrow. So, one of my favorite parts so far, spoiler alert, I get to drive an old school Corvette real fast. Real fast. Literally pedal to the metal. I was like, you gonna be what?
Car is shaking, yeah. If that car's shaking, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, baby, Corvette all stable.
There is some car head out there right now that's like creaming their pants. It's great now.
And I support that. You do that, sir.
You be you. You
enjoy that.
Oh man, well yeah, everybody go check out the trailer tomorrow, Chasing Rain. And Maurice, man, it's funny. So when I had you on, or when you came on 9 Nerd Yards, I remember you were like, bro, you talk dating, you talk relationships. You let me know when you're doing another. I'm coming on.
Absolutely.
So we are gathered now, dearly beloved. We are gathered.
Talk about my good relationships, my bad relationships, which happen to not weigh the same, But I have some insight and just some ideas about men, women, dating, love, relationships, parenting. I'm a full-time single father,
Right.
and just how those things have evolved over the years. Over my
Yeah.
years.
One of the things I've been digging into, so I started this series called "We All Want Love," and the first episode it was actually the first episode I called was "Trauma is Trauma," and that's initially what I was going to call the book is "Trauma is Trauma," um, be, and the
Oh,
reason I was
hold on a second. I'm sorry. I got my heater on. Can you hear that? Is it bothering you at all? Bothering the
I
sound?
hear I hear it, but if you turn it off, like it just will that sound to go away.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sorry about that. I was like, man,
He's like, what's that?
I'm
What's
down
that?
in my studio. It's cold. All right, cool.
As long as you don't, no, as long as you don't freeze on us, then you good, baby. But yeah, trauma is what I initially had called the book for a little bit. It was the title's a little bit confusing. You're like trauma, like is this a sad story? Is this got some emo vibes to it? Like what's going on? But the reason I was going to call it that is because my I think sort of my journey into writing this book and starting even going to therapy was realizing, I think in a nutshell, essentially all of the choices that we make
Mhm.
as adults when it comes to relationships is formulated from um, either exposure to a certain amount of trauma or lack of exposure to trauma, right? You become more insecure if you are exposed to large quantities of trauma as a child. You become secure if you are less exposed to the elements of trauma as a child. And the reason that I called it trauma is trauma initially was I was having a conversation with an old coworker of mine, and he was comparing his like longest relationship to a lot of other people's, and he's just like, I got you beat, I was 6 years, and what is 1.5 years, like man, like that. But I was like, well, T-Man, like my dude, like trauma is trauma. Like the heartbreak that you experience is actually, it's no different chemically wise and brain wise. Like the same neural pathways, the same signals are being sent. You don't get more sent just because your brain doesn't realize like, oh, he was 6 years, like I need to send more. No, that's not the way this works. Like you experience trauma, I experience trauma. Like relationally, it is the same chemical experience in our brains. The thing that is different is the impact that it leaves behind. And I always relate it to, you were in the military, explosions, right? Like you have a grenade explosion. That's different from a RPG. That's different from a C4. That's different from a atomic blast, bro. Like the impacts, and those are all explosions. An explosion is an explosion. But the impacts that each one leaves behind is a little bit different for each one of us. And the recovery cycle from each one of those things is a lot a bit different for all of us. Does that make sense? That's why I was initially going to call it trauma is trauma.
Absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
for me, the even when something traumatic happens, and the word trauma, even in itself, it just sounds like such a big word, like trauma, danger. It just sounds like a really, really big word, but it could come in so many different forms. Especially
Yes.
when your guard is down, when you're not looking for, if we want to relate it back to the military, when you're not looking for danger, that's when it can get you the worst. So when you say the difference between, let's say, the grenade, the small explosions, small trauma, larger trauma, it's all trauma. It's all I won't say detrimental, but you you take it in.
Hmm.
And what happens is, and I've noticed this recently, is people will tell you, they'll say, go to therapy, and you have to heal. But it sounds good to say that you have to heal. Sounds good because everyone does need to heal. But what they discount and what they don't realize is that even in healing, like even on my hand, I had surgery on my hand. That hand
Hmm.
healed, but there's a scar there that people discount. Like it'll always be there as a reminder. So that trauma, even though you healed, the scar is always there, and you cannot discount when you bring that into another relationship. They say you can't come into a new relationship bringing the old relationship, but if you were hurt, that scar you can heal, but that scar is going to be there. So there'll always be something that triggers that. You know,
All right, and this is much like the impact sites of an explosion, right? Like everyone's gonna be you throw a grenade, like okay, you might have a few ground shrapnel come up, you know what I mean? But you put a C4, bro, that is a city block most of the time. Like that is like large quantity of like, oh, we need to have a lot of repair after this, you know what I mean? And it might not look the same
right,
after this. Is exactly what that is.
right, exactly. So calling it trauma is work. Trauma is trauma. I mean, that works. Even whatever you decide to go with, but I do understand where you're going with that, because what I will say when you bring up the chemical is, if you think of the chemical in the brain synapses like a drug,
Mm-hmm.
eventually you take enough of the same drug, you build up a tolerance. And I think that's what happens with people a lot of times is, after something has happened to you more than once, you eventually turn numb. Not numb, but you more callous to it. Yeah.
It's interesting the amount of unhealthy things that are tolerated as normal
Mhm.
when there's actually a healthy route. But it might not give you the same, little brain boost that
Right.
drama situations give you. Like you can get as addicted to drama that you can get addicted to sugar, alcohol, drugs. Like it's
Interesting.
it's quite common. Like you know what I mean? Like you wonder why people make the same choices over and over again. This is all trauma related. Like I experienced this. You get used to that so long, like it becomes your normal. You're like, it's just, hey, it's just like having. I equate this always with like a friend named Frank. I think everybody has a friend named Frank. He's like, Frank is Frank, and Frank, when Frank has a little bit to drink, he gets a little, we gotta separate him from, we're out and about. Frank's got the anger issues, and we're just like, Frank is Frank. No, man, Frank is not just Frank. Like Frank needs to do something. Like Frank's got issues, bro.
Frank needs to have a conversation with somebody right now.
Right. We need to help Frank. We need to help Frank, not just say Frank is Frank. You know what I mean? But we do that so normally with people.
Right. Frank is Frank when Frank is being Frank, pretty much.
But Frank could be healthier, bro. We could hang out with Frank and not have to worry about an anger spout. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be a little bit more healthy? Wouldn't that be a little bit more fun? Or if I'm not having to be like, oh, who's all out tonight? It's Pete and it's Jimmy and Frank's gonna be there. It's like, oof, like I can't get as drunk as I normally can because I got to everybody has a friend like this.
Yeah, I might be your friend.
I don't know.
I don't get drunk. No, I don't get drunk. I'll get tipsy. I don't get drunk. I'm always trying to protect people, so I will get tipsy. And
Right.
I'll be the life of the party funny guy. Like, I'm like, let's go, let's dance.
But that's initially why I was going to call it Trauma's Trauma, and then I changed the title of the book to "We're All Afraid and It's Okay." Again, I was like trying to get down to the core of like, there's a fear when it comes to love and when it comes to relationships. If you have any sort of unhealthy tendencies, unhealed wounds, unhealed trauma, you begin like to just like it's fear. Everything's fear based, right? Fear of rejection, fear of this, fear of that, fear of getting too close, fear of being too far apart. Like you have anxieties, you have avoidancy tendencies. It's all fear based, and it's all based from fear based tendencies when you were a child, whether you were neglected, or whether you were abandoned, right? Like it's all fear based. We're all and when it comes to relationships, we are literally all. If it's even with our family too, like we're all afraid, and it's okay. So that's what the title was. That's the second title, and now the new title is "We All Want Love." You know what I mean? Like that's the direction that we go in now. Because really, I think at the end of the day, be afraid and trauma's trauma. Those are now chapters in the book, but like we all want love, essentially at the end of the day.
Man, love. I just had this conversation a couple days ago.
Okay.
I'm very forgiving Very, very forgiving when people bring love into their situations. Um, Oftentimes, people will come to me and ask me for relationship advice, and I can give the most amazing advice. And this much I know for a fact: the only issue that I have is when love, as messy and confusing and uncertain and questionable love can be. You love just wants love. Love is very selfish. Love just wants to be loved. And so when you give advice and where you're telling somebody this is what you should do, this is what you have to take into account that this person's also in love, and love clouds. Love clouds that analytical. Like it's like I know people will say, I know I shouldn't do this, or I know I shouldn't call, or I know I shouldn't do that, but I love him or her, and that but I love, it will get you, it'll get you in trouble, or it'll get you what you're looking for. But love will have you out there looking crazy.
First of all, facts. Love will have you going crazy. Have you heard some R&B songs from the '90s? Like they crazy, and I love them, and I love them. I grew up with them. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a Casey and JoJo song, right? I'm going crazy, 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 just a thinking about you, baby.
It's a lot different than the R&B and music of today, where it's basically
facts.
Just put it in and get me high.
Right. Yeah.
Get me high. It's pretty much
that's what it is. And so this is why I was going to say, like, you're right. Like I think people use the excuse of love more so than the fact they are actually in love. I think they use the excuse of love as an attachment. But like, I think you're more attached to how this person makes you feel, like, rather than is this like, you might love them, but is this healthy for you to be in?
Give me an example. Give me an example.
Let me see. It would have to. I can't think of any like real time like examples of like somebody that like I know personally, but I feel like with a lot of like relationships, like nowadays, right? People will, and this can obviously happen like in a few months. It'll be like, oh, I love this person, and like I want to be with them, and I'm gonna be with them, and but then like you discover more like unhealthy tendencies in another person. And it usually, when that happens, that usually triggers them in your own self. And so like, whether it's like you're fighting all the time, or it's like there's a lack of impatience, or there is a lack of mistrust, that's usually it, right? Like people like just not trustworthy of other people, whether it's girls going out with girls, guys going out with the guys, guy night, right? Like this, that, because you've had past trauma, you have unhealed wounds that are going to come out, and then it makes you look like a quote crazy person.
Right.
Now, is that love, or is that an anxious attachment style that has not been properly healed? Is that something that can be healed, from like going to therapy? That's a helpful tool. I can speak firsthand because like it was a helpful tool for me. But I'll say therapy is like this. Therapy is like going to the gym with a personal trainer, right? Like you go, but if you're only going to the gym once a month, once every 2 weeks, and then they ask you in between, right? Like I'm sure you've helped friends like work out, and you're like, all right, so how you been doing in the meantime? I'm like, oh man, I ain't been back since, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I've been busy, man. Let me eat, man.
And you're like, bro, so everything I just showed you, we have to like start from ground zero yet again. Whereas getting with a personal trainer is not the extent of where you stop going to the gym. It is the platform where you start to go continuously by yourself. And you start to do the things that they showed you until the next time you see them. That is what therapy is. It is a helpful tool for you to get a lot of things off your chest. But also the helpful thing is like, what is something I can work on in between now and the next time, so that the next time we're not having these same conversations. And that is one thing that I figured out for myself very early on. And it could be because I've been hosting a dating relationship podcast for 4 years. And I realized a lot of things about myself. And it's very easy to have conversations with even like you, man. This is our second time like meeting, over a podcast, and like it's not like we're best of friends, but also like, bro, like I think we're very open. And
both been in relationships, and there's that camaraderie, that similarity there. That you can talk about that stuff because it's that's how it's bro code.
Right.
We know these things.
Right. It's being vulnerable, right? And like with the more and more times you practice vulnerability, the easier it is to just do that and then grow from it.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
go ahead, man. I'm
Yeah,
just ranting at this point.
part of my profession requires me to be vulnerable. One thing that I did learn about myself, I'm very, very introspective. So I actually sit and I ask myself questions, and I ask like, why do I think like this? Why do I feel this way? And
Hmm.
all that, all the things that people are afraid to kind of ask and look into themselves. I wholeheartedly go and like, why in the hell do I do that? And eventually I come to a response. But speaking of vulnerability, I grew up, first of all, I'm black, obviously. You know. Um,
I was about to do. I'm gonna be like, nah, you better stop.
but
Oh, oh
well,
no.
I grew up at a time when, I grew up. It was just me and my mother and my little brother, and I didn't have a dad around to teach me how to be a man. So I was learning how to be a man from music, movies, the other guys around me, and just
Right.
and when at that time, a lot of the what we would call now toxic masculinity, I displayed that, but I didn't know. I
Right.
thought I was being, I didn't, men don't cry, men don't do this, men don't do that. Now, after some time and after being a father, being married, divorced, vulnerability, I'm cool with it. The problem with that is shift positions. The problem with that is when dating and being
Okay.
honest and being open, and then you meet someone, and that person is, you feel really good about the person. You want to, and that's I'm gonna say this right now, men, we want to be able to put those weights and let you see how we are, who we truly are. What I've dealt with and what I've seen in the past is that those things have caused, like, a woman will say, "Why don't you open up? You're like, you'll be honest with me." And it's like, all right, this isn't this. And 6 months later, 6 months later, that shit's getting thrown back in your face.
Mm.
Like, so that happens a few times, and you're like, I'll just keep it to myself.
Right.
I didn't tell you that so you can punch me in the face with it. I told you that
Right.
I trust you, and that becomes a trauma, and that becomes a trauma specifically for men. And then we don't, we won't necessarily voice it because, again, the whole stereotype: men don't have feelings like we do. We just display them differently. So one example is when a woman is like, will you just talk to me? Just talk to me, and not realizing that if your man was happy, whatever, and talking and talking, and then all of a sudden he just kind of shuts down, he's telling you something right there. It may not be verbal, but if you just notice that there has been a shift, then he's trying to explain to you in the best way that he knows how that something ain't right, babe. I need time to process it so I can give that to you.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you know what? I just I've seen it, firsthand where you'll open up, you'll give them all of you, and then you get hit with it. You get hit
Right.
right back in the face with it. So I do, again, going back to trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got a comment here. Shout out to Crystal Gibson. You're right. Most men do show us exactly who they are. More women should accept it without thinking they can change that man. Also, this was an earlier comment from her. Oftentimes, we're able to give the absolute best advice for when our feelings are involved. Our judgment and decision making tends to get
Absolutely.
very cloudy.
Absolutely. It's been thanks for the comment, Crystal. It's been numerous times. I'm numerous times. Women have called me, and hey, what does it mean when man is doing this? And I'm like, a lot of the times, the advice that I give, I'm like, sweetheart, if you just, what do you think it means? Because you just want somebody to tell you what you already know. You got to trust yourself and trust your instinct. You're not an idiot. You're just hoping someone will say something opposite.
Right.
So trusting yourself, being honest with yourself. That's the biggest thing, is being honest with yourself. In like, literally, I say this all the time. If you be honest with yourself first, and then you be honest with me, because if you can't lie to yourself, it becomes impossible to lie to me.
It's funny, man. Again, in a whole nother chapter that I talk about, like self-reflection and accountability, and I think those are two of the hardest things. One's more done more often than the other, right? Like I feel like self-reflection, that's done more often than actual accountability, right? Like those are two different things. Like you can like look in the mirror and be like, oh yeah, well I know this is but like it's being like, well, I know this is it, if you're, for instance, give you a perfect example. If you're ever in the bathroom and then like you turn the light on and you just look at yourself and then you're like, oh, I know, like I could, probably want to work on this or that. You're basically doing that to your brain and to your heart and to like all the emotions and the mental portions of you. You can easily be like, yeah, I know this is it, and then just turn the light back off, never come back to it. You're like, but I know myself, right? Okay. So when is the part when you know yourself so well that you take accountability for, okay, I've been making this choice over and over again. Yes, I have, right. Yes, I come from I'm going to give you a perfect example for me. I do also come from a single parent, household. I also came from like a broken household where when my mom got married and had an abusive stepdad, you know what I mean? Like I come from broken childhood. I think that's very fair to say. I come from sort of impoverished background. That's also fair to say. And that's also another societal pressure, right? To like be some sort of man in this other society. So it's just like you have all these different pressures, and you can literally, a lot of people, they walk through life and be like, well, I'm broken, so I just can't make right decisions. And it's just like, okay, well, when is the accountability when you're able to make right decisions? Like just with you again, I imagine like you help your friends like work out, like you're always in the gym, bro. Yeah, I'd be I spy on my little eye. My man is in the gym. You know what I mean?
6 days a week.
Yeah. But I imagine your friends come to you, health advice and yada yada. So it's like when people start to take accountability for like, hey, I keep eating this and I just want to stop. Like hey, take my credit card from me. Just bring me to the gym all the time. Like when you start to take accountability for making different choices, and sometimes it is hardcore, that is when things change, right? But like so many people have so much trouble, one, self-reflecting, because we live in just a very, I say we live in a very busy society, but like also you cannot watch Netflix tonight and just sort of reflect on yourself for an hour. It's very easy to do. Like when people say, I don't have time to do that, but I'm like, you got time to play video games, you got time to watch Netflix, you got time to check your Facebook, like
that is always
that's the accountability, right? Like be accountable for all of your time, and I bet you have time to make yourself better in the areas that are most important, which are emotional and mental, to have successful relationships, to not like partner with people that are like, hey man, like this I keep dating chicks that are always like this, right? And like, yeah, you're now the common denominator. Like you this is like the 18th time. It's the 18th girl that's done that to you. It's the 18th guy that's did this to you in the same exact way. Like I'm not saying you know how to, like, you pick bad people, but I'm just saying like there is a common denominator that keeps happening. Yeah.
You hit a nerve.
I'm sorry. I don't mean.
No, not like that. I'm saying you hit a nerve because going back to self reflection. I was I've had relationships, and I'm single now, so obviously they didn't work.
Right.
And, I would fight. I would fight for it. I say, hey, look, we having some issues. Let's work it out. Let's work it out. And I've never been with, anybody serious that wanted to work it out. They got what they needed, and if something went bad, and so the self-reflection comes in, and the accountability comes in. For me, was I love beautiful women.
I'm addicted. I'm addicted.
I love beautiful women, and where I would. Damn it! I'm telling my business. I'm telling my business. Like we here now, but no, and so granted, it would everything would start out great every time.
Right.
It would start out great. There was one person. We'll talk about her specifically. Gorgeous, big booty, pretty. I'm a booty man. And but there were some red flags I saw early in. I was much younger. I was in my 20s, and I saw some red flags early in, but I ignored it. And back then I couldn't tell myself why I was ignoring. Like I was like, it's kind of annoying, and it's kind of annoying. But she's bad though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it took me years to be able to look back at myself and go, why am I still single? And I was like, oh, it's because you keep going for these baddies with no brains. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not all of them. So any of them see them. Right. There's a chick in particular who she was a baddie. She had a brain and shit just didn't work out. If you see it, you know who the fuck you are. Shit. Don't call me telling me you said this shit about me.
I'm like, no.
Our issue was kids. Yeah. So just are you familiar with the term homeostasis?
Explain. Now, I feel like I've heard this term, and I'm like,
basically, it's finding balance. Like in your body system, homeostasis is when like everything finds balance in your body. It's a biological term, but it's basically what we're always trying to find. Our body, with pH balance and all the chemicals.
You said homeostasis. I was like, no, I like girls, baby. I don't know what you. I ain't in that status. I am not in that status with a.
I am not in that status. Homeostasis, and basically, without even realizing, people are always, even in everything, trying to find, that balance or that comfort. Right. You know what I mean? Like, people are afraid. You talked about fear, and fear does rule us in so many different ways. We are afraid. Think about, we go to work every day because we're afraid not to eat. We look for love because we're afraid not to
be alone.
Fear governs, and I can argue that with anybody. But when somebody is, we'll go back to the gym. Let's say somebody wants to work out. It hurts. Mm-hmm. It hurts to lift weights. So I don't want to do that. I want to go ahead and get this serotonin in my system. I want to do what's comfortable, what makes me feel good. But introspective thinking, thinking about the things that you've done wrong, a lot of times it hurts people. And I don't necessarily mean hurts, but it doesn't feel good.
It's uncomfortable. Uncomfortability.
That's where I was going. It's uncomfortable, and no one will be uncomfortable. So they'll be like, I'll just avoid it. And again, you know why you're avoiding it? Avoiding it because it's fear. You're afraid again.
I'm afraid it's gonna hurt. I'm afraid of I'm afraid of doing anything other than what I've been doing, because I know what I'm doing.
It's the devil, So let me just stick right here with what I've been doing. Let's say female, been going to the club and seeing this guy. I know how this works. I'm gonna stick with this. Versus looking inside and going, why do I keep passing out my vagina? Why? Damn, they just won't do it. It was like that with me in what was it, 2016, what was I in Kuwait last time? 26, I think it was like 2016, 2017. Oh, no. It's just like 2014. It's like
Okay.
2014. I remember it was, oh my God, I'm not telling myself. So 2014,
Oh no.
20, yeah, man.
Oh,
I,
it's
I
about
was,
to get real.
I was in contract. I was a contractor in Kuwait. And one thing about that is that the American population is very small. We all kind of know each other. And I had messed around with a girl, on base. And that girl went and told her homegirls about me. And
Mm.
her her homegirl made it a mission to find out about me.
Mm.
Her homegirl found out about me and went and told some other people. So then
Mm.
I remember it was right about Christmas time, 2014. It was about Christmas, about this time in 2014.
You were slinging all the presents during
I
Christmas.
was not. And that was the thing. No. That was the thing. This is what happened. They came
Okay.
not, they came not physically, but they came like, hey, what's up? Hey, I heard, you got this, that, and the other. I heard you be doing this. And at first, I was flattered. At first, I was like, yeah, And I was like, wait a minute, wait.
How do you know?
I had to ask myself. I said, why do I keep doing that? And it was a painful thing. And I realized it later, through myself. I realized it later that it was that feeling of companionship, and that I could make myself feel better by making, my partner feel better. Make my partner feel good. It made me feel better. And so I'm like,
Right.
what am I missing? What am I missing in myself that I need to please this person? That, and I started turning people down. I was, it was like, hey,
Come on now.
no more dick. All right. Shop's closed. No more payments. My dick. God damn it.
I'm taking this back home. Look.
Get it here. So it was uncomfortable. It didn't feel good, but it was necessary for me to chill the fuck out.
Right.
And understand. And now I'm good. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm cool, ma'am. I'll tell a woman quit, man. I'm cool. Like, I just good, man. I don't need to do all that extra shit.
Things you learn in Kuwait, I suppose.
Right, man. I went off on a tangent. I'm so sorry.
No, it's good, man. This is what these conversations are here about, right? Like these are the things too, because I think so often, like at the beginning, I'll give you a great example, man. When I started Unfiltered Bachelor, it was very early on into dating after a 5.5 year relationship.
Yeah.
And I had a whole series of thoughts and ideas, and a lot of it was focused on like, hey, here's guys, just do this on dates. Like it's really that just make good conversation. Just like, like don't be a fucking weirdo. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to do anything extra. Like just be you. And just like a lot of that, like a lot of like regular, like just hey, like here's a little funny line, like say, like make things fun. Don't pressure people on first dates and like have to do dinner. Like I'm like coffee, drinks over, like drinks are cool, like, or have a plan, like do drinks and then like if it goes good, have like a little dinner spot, like plan it out. It's very easy. I would give that kind of advice.
So the first thing advice I give is do not go to a movie. Anything.
Of course. Oh, bro, I had a whole episode about that.
Yeah. Anything where your attention is pulled away from the person. You're supposed to be getting to know this person. Don't do that. And also is just be yourself. So I'm about to give away some of my game here.
Oh my god. Y'all welcome here. Look, I didn't even know.
And so look, it's not game. I hate using the word. It's not game. It is genuinely me being me. The thing that typically seems to work with the women that I've met is I don't want shit from them.
Right.
I don't want anything from you. Like I don't want sex. I I don't need you to do anything. Just enjoy yourself. We're gonna be here. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do some silly shit. We'll go to karaoke. Karaoke is dope, guys. Karaoke.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Because then you get to see if she's cool or not. If she's willing to go out there and make a whole ass of herself, you know, or if she's willing to have your back if you go and make an ass of yourself. Karaoke, you're welcome. Drunk karaoke is even better. And so, yeah, you just the trick is, man, just be a genuinely 100% be yourself and don't care. You know, if she doesn't find you funny, she ain't the one, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if she does find you funny, then, you know, keep the laughs coming.
Cool.
But
Keep going. Yeah. I refer to this as like, I had a friend of mine. He was like, he's like, I tend to have a good, he's in marketing and sales and stuff. He used the word vetting process. And I was just like, that's actually really appropriate. Like vetting process. Like have a solid vetting process.
Mhm.
And, I was what's that? Women have one. Yeah, of course. Every woman has one.
On top. If you certain height, if you ain't making a certain amount of money, if your shoes are raggedy looking, you know what I'm saying? Like they have a vetting process. I mean,
Vetting process.
Everybody does. It's human nature, and we gotta stop ignoring our human nature. Because
we got somebody else out here that loves karaoke.
Love karaoke. I do.
Love karaoke.
Are you any good at karaoke?
Am I any good at karaoke? Yeah, of course I'm great. I'm great. I have my go-tos. I think I had this when I had a Hinge profile. It was like, you know, favorite karaoke songs, and I was like either 3005 by Childish Gambino, or if I'm drunk enough, it's Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks. It just depends on how much I've had to drink.
I got friends in okay.
I'm from Texas, boy. We get down on some 90s country, so you know.
My go-to is all right, here we go. So my go-to is either Disney songs.
Okay. Let it go, man. Let's go.
Disney songs, or if I've had a couple in me, it's gonna be Kiss by
by Seal?
Yeah.
Oh baby.
When it snows
From the grave.
eyes become man, come on, baby.
When I can feel another night. Yeah. That's the jam.
I don't know what single word.
I'm about to go put on Batman Forever right after we get out.
That one. I have to watch the video with it. You see Val Kilmer throwing the batarang and shit.
I'm like, this song ain't got shit to do with Batman, but I love it.
Did you know they put it
when it snows.
To this day, that's probably one of the most beautiful songs ever written and performed.
It's so great.
It's
so good. It's so like underrated. People sleep on that. Like it comes on, you're like,
right.
You love the song.
And I'm like,
oh man.
Man, shout out to Seal. Be married to who was it? Was it Heidi Klum? Was that his ex-wife?
Yeah, he was married to Heidi Klum. Yeah.
Heidi Klum.
Also, you got somebody out here, man. Next time they too. We're gonna go. You got to hear all that. We got another karaoke fan. It's Whitney for me.
What's Whitney? So I mean, I was talking to my uncle. I was like, man, there was something about that song.
Which one? The Bodyguard one?
No. The national anthem. Did you ever hear her sing the national anthem?
Yes. I've seen the YouTube clip.
I don't know what it is. It literally brings tears to my eyes. It's like, why am I? It's something about her voice. It's
incredible. It's incredible, bro. Like has it been done better?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
The way she sang it, it's like I get emotional. It's not even about being super patriotic. It's just the way that woman sings.
Just the way, like the you hear the vocal harmonizing, and you're just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, it was real heavy into like first dates and stuff like that. I go to I do therapy about 2 years, a little over 2 years ago, and that's when really everything changed as far as my approach to doing this podcast. It's no longer like dating advice of like, hey, you should do this and that. Like, you know, we we could talk about that. And like most people, I think the point I was getting at was most people always want to focus on like, should I do this on this date? And like da. And like to your point, one of the things you said was, don't care. But what I'll add to that is like, if you look at the thing as a vetting process, they weren't going to make it anyways. So don't worry about them. You know what I mean? Like when you start to look at it as like, people can't get over the fact that people don't like them. So then they'd be like, well, why didn't they like me? And I need to figure it out. You're like, bro, you probably met a stranger on the stairs and like, you were like, hi. And they were like, did you care then? Because that's essentially the same thing. Like you might have had a few more text message conversations with this other person, but like, at that point, you've just built too many hopes in your head that it's going to go somewhere. So sorry to disappoint you, but life can be disappointing, right? But like, it is all about like, and the reason I say it just that harshly was there would be lots of times, I'd use dating apps like Bumble and Hinge primarily. And when I'd match with somebody, I'd, usually let them know that I do a dating and relationship podcast. And a lot of people would be like, ooh, don't say that. But like, they were going to find out sometime. So like, why not find out early on? And if they're going to like continue to message me back, they're going to. And if they're not, they're not. They weren't going to be the one if they didn't like it in the first place. And if I hid it from them in the first place, they weren't going to be it. I'm just sorry. And like, that is those times where you have to realize like, okay, like when you start to accept those things, like not everybody's going to like me. It's not that I don't care. Like, I'm sure that person's a nice person, but like, I just know the road that I'm walking on is more important than lingering on like, why this person didn't like me. And it took me, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, like, I was like that all my life. Like, no, like that is more of like a last 2-year type thing. But that was like a lot of focus back then. Like, I don't know, I'm a pretty badass guy. I don't know why she didn't like me. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things like just understand that. And it makes it a lot easier.
It's good that you're honest off top. That's difficult for a lot of people just to be honest. It goes back to me saying be honest with yourself. That way you are honest with everyone else.
Right. Because what is like every rom-com movie, like the guy's usually hiding something, like, he's hiding his name or he's hiding like some parts of his family. Yeah, fear of rejection. And it's just gone on and like, it's exactly what it is. I seen it fuck up in rom-com. So I'm trying. If my life's gonna be a rom-com, at least it won't maybe happen like that. You know what I mean?
I think people lie in relationships or just lie about anything again out of fear. But it's also realizing that it's insecurity because you don't feel like you deserve whatever that is that you're going for. So you'll lie about it to manipulate the situation, and you have what you don't believe you deserve. And if you believe you don't deserve it, then guess what? You don't deserve it.
You're never gonna, yeah.
So, gosh, just being honest will save so many people so much trouble and so much time. So if there's something that you don't like about yourself, or there's something that's something that's different about you, just tell the person straight up. Tell them straight up. And if they choose you, then that means that they did it of their own free will, and you didn't manipulate them. And it saves you a lot of trouble. And then that person is genuinely there for you and not for the person that you appear to be.
Right. That's what it is. But that's again, it's hard with. And I'll give people this. Like, it is hard with societal norms of being like, well, you're not okay just being you. You're not okay just being you unless you have this, unless you have the car, unless you have the shoes, unless you have the purse for the ladies, right? Unless you have the hair, unless you have unless you have the something, it's not okay to be you. Like, yeah, that's stupid. That's the stupidest shit ever. Yeah, and it's like, bro, what? No, that's crazy.
Right. The most powerful thing a person could ever ask is why? Why is it that, I'm not good enough? Who gets to say I'm not good enough? Right. Work on, if you feel like you deserve something, then prove it. Go for it 100%. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the person that you're trying to date or trying to court. And maybe you win that prize. Maybe you get that person that you're looking for. But it all starts with the honesty, which it's so lacking in 2022. It's so lacking going into 2023. It's so lacking is honesty. Somebody will have this. And it's all that, social media, and people can be whatever they want, and they can decide whatever they want, regardless of whatever's real, whatever reality is. I can do whatever I want. And all I can think is, man, there's so many participation trophies out there. I get a participation trophy. The reality is you don't get to choose everything, but you get
Right.
to choose how you respond to reality.
This is exactly one of the last podcast of the segment that I did last week. Last week's episode was "You Made You Do It," right? And so it's this whole concept of like, first of all, the first concept is like the excuse of "you made me do this" or "you make me this way" or whatever. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And I would break this down with like new people, like new friends I'd meet, like my roommate, like he would always have like little parties and stuff, and I'd have these conversations with people, and I'm like, yeah, this guy just makes me this way, or this. I'm like, let's break this down. Like, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but like, if it's right, then you move on with your life. But if I'm right, then you'll look at this a whole new way. I'm like, if the excuse "you make me" or "you made me," if that excuse holds up in court, like, let's think about this. Like, what would the judge say if that was brought up, right? Like, judge, he made me shoot this dude like 5 times. Judge, he made me like rob the bank. And the judge would be like, "No, bro, you're going to jail. Like, this is how that works. Like, nobody makes you do anything. You actually have free will and you have free choice. The thing that you're trying to say is, I am so like emotionally or yeah, usually emotionally attached to some sort of outcome that the reaction that I'm taking is, I feel like it's influenced by this person because they did this. They did this. And so, right, the natural reaction is to do this impulsive emotional response. And it's like, yeah, but it's not thought out. It's not actually the proper response. And like, and I saw this video the other day. It was like a TikTok or something. It was like, I always tell, it was like, I tell couples, like, if they get into a fight, and I do this with my wife, like, we get into a fight, like, just separate yourself for like 20 minutes and then come back, and it'll be an entirely different conversation, because like, that is a smarter and healthier way to handle this. And it's no longer like, well, you made me do this, or you make me do this, or you make me feel this way. It's like, hey, when you do this, I feel this way. You didn't make me. I feel this way. But people don't have, like, it's easier to blame other people, right? Like, it's so much easier to blame other people for your choices than to be like, actually, like, I need to take accountability for my choices. And this goes back to the point of like, you can't choose the situations. Like, you're a Marine, bro. You're a former Marine. Like, you can't choose the situations when you become under fire. But what you can choose to do is the reaction. And this is what y'all train for, right? Every branch, right, like, trains for particular military operations where they are ready for a particular military exercise. So you have been training and training and training for this. So you're like, okay, when this goes down, I'm going to react this way. I'm not going to react like, oh my God, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, y'all hear that? And some people still might. But like, the whole point of training is to hopefully instill the proper responses that are healthy and that keep people alive.
And that's where I think that's where self-reflection and therapy comes in, because honestly, what happens in a lot of these relationships and a lot of, when they get into arguments and fights, is somebody just wants to win. It no longer becomes about, I love this person, and I've been in those situations. I've outgrown it now, to where if I do get in an argument, my question that I ask myself is, do I love this person more than my need to be right or my need to win? And as long as I love you more than my need to win, I don't even need to argue with you.
We're good, yeah.
I love you.
I really like this comment. We got, man, fans are coming in heavy. Shout out to all the fans. Click like, hit subscribe. Manage of emotion is lacking. That is a thing, man. Like, that's exactly what that is. And like, a lot of people just don't realize. It's like, everybody is so like stuck on the mindset of like, I want to control this.
I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose.
Right.
And
But
that's
really the only thing you can control is your
Yourself.
reaction. Yeah, yourself.
Well, absolutely. You know, the need to win. When the need to win outweighs that love for that person, then you're not in a good situation, and you need to reevaluate that situation, whether it be the relationship, whether it be the current altercation, because as long as and this is just me being, you know, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
this is me being Disney right now.
yeah.
If love is the base, and I believe in First Corinthians love.
Mm-hmm.
Love is patient, love is
Love is
kind.
kind. Yeah,
What they get
understanding.
every time is that very last one. Love never fails, and
Mm-hmm.
that one is the one that I stand on. So if there's an altercation, if we arguing or something, and it's going left, I love it. I love you too much to keep this going. So you need to do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. I'm gonna head on out. I'll be back in a little bit. Then every now and then you get those ones like you always want to run away. Like, no, I don't want to argue with you. I would rather love you. I just want to love you. So let's get back to that. This right here, this is natural. This is human. We fight, bow, bow, bow. But ultimately, I'm choosing love over my need to dominate the situation. And if more people were okay with just let that shit go, as long as it's within your parameters of acceptable behavior, because if this person cheating on you 4, 5, 6 times, all right, this ain't gonna work. I'm cool.
Right. You've got to establish boundaries, and you have to actually stand by your own boundaries at that point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, we got another one right here. Zero-minded actions based off unwarranted fear. Yeah, that's factuals. Actual factuals. Man, you're getting some love over here, man.
This name. You so oftentimes, man, people get mad and get more upset just based off of the idea of what may possibly happen that could be warranted or unwarranted. And no, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Explain. What do you mean, like expectations? What do you mean?
Yeah. Okay. So, like, if you just feel like something's going to happen, I feel like this person's going to leave me. So,
Okay. Okay.
so let's say my last relationship. When we would have issues, she had her own trauma, and it was deep. Gosh, it was so deep. It was deep. She had her own traumas, and I remember one time we were going back and forth, and I hadn't really, I almost I hadn't done anything. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember what she said. She said that I don't ever want to be made a fool again. She was referring to her previous marriage, but she said I don't ever want to be made a fool of again. And I knew what that meant. And it was little things that I would do. There was an argument started when I was singing Future, and then one of his songs he goes, "If she catch me cheating, I will never tell her sorry." And then she looked at me and she got hot. What?
Triggered. She got triggered. Yeah.
Triggered, and I was like, I'm just rapping Future. And it was a thing. It turned into a thing, and so I wasn't, there was no cheating. There was nothing of that nature. But she felt like because of what happened before, that the possibility, she started seeing little things, and it was like, it was too much for her. She was like, let me put this right here with this. I'm gonna put that on top of this and make this. Right. That looks like some cheating now. I'm like, no.
That's not. You just Frankenstein some cheating.
Put some shit right. Out the top. I'm like, that's not what that was. That was me rapping a song. And you remember some shit that happened in your past, and you attributed that to me. Like, I love you, bitch. I love you. Like, I'm happy with you. Relax.
Yeah, it's that unhealed trauma, right?
And I knew it was deep.
One of the first, like the basis of like was starting to go to therapy and starting to understand this and even starting to write my own book. Um, have you ever heard of attachment theory?
I have heard of that. I'm not super familiar, but I have heard.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the theory essentially. There's essentially three different attachment styles. Two of them are insecure, and one of them is secure. So to give you the secure sort of theory, it's your attachment style is formulated between the ages of 2 and 6, and it's based primarily off of nurture. It can still be developed, but usually those are the primary years where it's sort of ingrained into you as like how much you're loved or not loved, right? And that's it's going to give you a different attachment style. So the three that there are is basically secure attachment style, and these were the kids that were loved enough, told that they were good enough, hugged enough, like you're like, man, that's like, y'all look really. It's like the family that's like, man, y'all are good. Y'all aren't perfect, but like y'all, there's a lot of love, and there's a lot of basis of love, and there's a lot of communication, and that looks great. Then the other two you have are anxious attachment style, which are the kids that were abandoned, usually by one or more parents. But it's usually some parent. And this is the kid I equated to. This was essentially me, waiting by the door for dad who like just never comes when he says he's going to come, and so you feel that abandoned. And then when they do see that parent, they like cling to it, and these are why anxious attached people become the needy ones, the clingy ones, because they're afraid that it's going to go away and they don't know when. It's like a ticking time bomb, and they become very emotionally sensitive, and they just they feel that sixth sense of like, I can just smell something different in the, you know what I mean, in the atmosphere. And then you have avoidant attachment style, and these are the parents that they were usually, again, neglected by one or more parents. And this is the one I always say that's like, they are, they maybe have even both parents, but they are not hugged enough mentally or physically, if that makes sense.
So how do
right?
these manifest? Because I'm actually curious about the second one and the third one. How do they manifest in adulthood?
Yeah, so anxious attachment style, I mean, the easiest way to say it is these are the like clingy, needy people. These are the ones that like, if you're trying to have like somebody will have, like, as I'm going to give these examples, everybody out there will start to think of probably some sort of ex or somebody, maybe even the person that they're with. So I'm sorry if I'm going to get about to get in your business, but these are the people that when you're like, hey, I just need a little space, they don't give you space, and they triple text you and they double text you, and they cloud you, and they make you feel like overwhelmed, and you're like, oh no, babe, like they're not physically around me, but I feel them physically around me. You know what I mean? Like they overwhelm you because they are clinging to what is love in their head, and for it to go away, they are going to try and do everything, but it comes from an anxious place. It doesn't feel sincere, and it's from a damaged place. That is essentially anxious attachment style in a nutshell. Avoidant attachment style, because and again, that comes from a parent like not being there repetitively, inconsistently. The neglected kid who turns into an avoidant attachment style, because they were not hugged enough either mentally, emotionally, or physically, they are okay with being by themselves mentally, emotionally, or physically. They're usually like, nah, they are okay with not having relationships. They're okay with having big boundaries in relationships. They are okay with having like a lot of space. They are okay. They're probably the ones who, of the two, like where an anxious attachment person usually wants to talk it out and overly talk it out, and then you'd be like, hey, just give me a few minutes, and they don't want to do that. They're usually attached to avoidant people. Anxious people and avoidant people, they're usually attached to each other. It's like a fucking magnet thing. I don't know. But they're usually the ones that need space. They're usually the ones that will pull away. And the more another person kind of clings to them, the more they pull away. And so these are, in a nutshell, your two insecure attachment styles. And then you have the rare breed, which is like, according to the book Attached, which everybody go check out, please. It's actually the book that sort of set me on this whole trajectory of understanding this. you have the very rare breed. It's like 5% of people that are anxious and avoidant. They have been, abandoned and neglected, and they push and pull at the same time. They're like, go away, but no, come back, like all in an instant. And you're like, bro, you're crazy, huh? I love you, but you're crazy. Well, this has been a great show, Maurice. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, shut up! You don't know my life. You don't know me.
You don't know shit about me.
I think that last one you might have struck gold on that last. Because I get it all the time. I'll be interested in somebody for that quick. Wow, this oh God, I swear.
Disengage.
I swear the comments gonna pop up. I'll be interested for a second, and it's like, I'm good. Maybe like a week or two or a month later, I'm like, what you doing? Shut. Like, hey, let's get together sometime. No, I ain't gotta be busy, man. I just want to see what you was doing. All right.
And then another 2 months, he pops up like Eminem. Guess who's back?
Back
again.
Yeah, I was just thinking about you. Word.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So I said some people might get flashbacks. I wasn't meaning you, but I just mean like the people that are listening. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't care.
But yeah, these are all insecure attachment styles, and the thing is, it's all a spectrum, and like correcting it doesn't mean fully you're like, I'm always going to be a secure person, or correcting it doesn't mean I'm always going to be an avoidant. Like it goes sort of on a spectrum, and you can still have a couple of tendencies of one or the other. You can kind of be borderline too. You know what I mean? Like it sort of fluctuates that way. I say it like I'm a recovering anxious attached person, but I have so many more secure tendencies now than I did before. Just again, not just by going to therapy. Therapy was very helpful, but it's the work that you do in between that's even more helpful. It's like reading the books. It's having these conversations. It's watching videos. It's doing the workbooks. That's where the real work comes in. When you were doing it on repeat, you start to formulate those new neural pathways in your brain to be like, actually, this is, that anxious shit I used to do, that felt comfortable. Just to bring this full circle, right? That felt comfortable. This is the shit that feels comfortable now. And actually, this shit is giving me better results. It's probably healthier. Oh shit, this is healthy, feels a little uncomfortable at first, but it's actually better for you.
It goes back to fitness. Let's just say fitness and nutrition.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to eat salads all the time and lift all the weights, but you got to realize too, man, like that's good for you. It's uncomfortable, but if you lifting your weights, if you're doing your cardio, you'll see improvement. No different from what you're saying. You'll see if you just stay consistent and keep doing it, you'll eventually see results. And once you start seeing those results, you get excited. Like with me currently right now. Mm-hmm. So perfect example. When I was doing Chasing Rain, there was a couple of scenes where I didn't have my shirt off, but I kind of was in a t-shirt.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I was like, I don't like how fluffy I look. I look fluffy. I don't like it. And so instead of complaining about it, I started hitting the gym uncomfortably. And now, I got my little six pack showing off, and I don't even have to, flex. And I'm like, that's what I wanted to look like before. And now I'm comfortable going to the gym doing that. Before it was, first step one, had to hold myself accountable. Be honest, like, I don't like how that looks. Step two, decide to do something about it. Step three, do something about it. Step four, reap the benefits.
Right.
So
it's all about the reaping what you sow. You know what I mean? Like this is a harvest time now. You know what I mean? It's so great. Mm-hmm. Oh, you were saying though, more. I cut you off, man.
No, you could. No, I was done. I was done. You got
okay. That's my point.
Reap what you sow.
Yeah. Oh man. Again, got all the love out here, bro. Another day to improve my habits, for the opportunity to cultivate greatness. Another chance to embody, radiate self-awareness, mood management, self-reliance, impulse control. Hard-won
Work
experience.
on yourself. Working to improve yourself. You have to work on yourself every day. The thing is, we change incrementally every single day because we age. Every moment we're something different. So every day you have to work on yourself. You have
Mm-hmm.
to work to improve yourself. And if you don't, it's so. I keep going back to some of my old sayings, but you know how they say, sleep is the cousin of death. You
I've
know,
never heard that. No. What are you talking about?
sleep is the cousin of death. Like basically, when people say like I'll sleep when I die,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard, I say that a lot.
same realm. But
Okay.
think about when we die, we are laid to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep the cousin of death.
Right. It makes sense. I just never heard it. Yeah.
People are always looking to be comfortable, but when you're comfortable, you'll wait. The most comfortable position that we have is just laying down. And if
Mm-hmm.
you just do that, you will waste away. If you don't do any work on yourself, even up here, you
Right.
will waste away and you will die.
Right.
You have to move. You have to work. You have to work to survive, to live, to build, to get better, to improve.
Right.
It's going to be uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable, but you have to be okay with being.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, and it's in all the. I love that you said that because it literally is in all the areas of your life. I think so much emphasis is put on like, well, if you're physically fit, like you just got to figure it out, and like and it's just like, nah, bro, like there's like a lot of mental stuff that goes into that too, and like, and then I think that the one on top of that is even the emotional like uh, understanding of yourself. Is
Mhm.
like could you ask anybody? Could you just text anybody right now and be like, how you feeling? They would tell you a whole nother. They wouldn't tell you how they're feeling. They'd tell you like, well, this is going on, and that's what's that?
They will bullshit you.
Yeah, they would bullshit you in some sort of way, and it's usually like they will. It's not that they don't mean to answer the question how you feeling. It's just that they interpret it as a different way in their head. They're like, I mean, like it's a good night, and you're like, no, that's not what I didn't ask if you're how you're doing. I asked, and again, it's not intentional. It's the same thing as when you ask somebody like, "Hey, man, how you been?" Like, and they're like, "I'm good," and they're even though they're not. It's just like this. It's like this inherent thing, and like in us and in society, that's just like, I don't know if I'm good, but I'm gonna say I am. How are you feeling? Right? Like, understand how you're feeling is like the most important thing.
I've done that, and I make it a point to clarify because I understand what you're saying, and I know people in an effort to be cordial, polite, and civil,
Yeah.
they'll tell you what they think you want to hear. So
Right.
I'll make it a point to clarify. No, don't lie to me, because especially because I'm empathic and I pay attention to people's expressions.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can see something is off, especially with somebody that I'm familiar with, if I can see that something is off, even something very slight, I'll say, "Are you okay?" or "How are you?" And they'll give me the bullshit answer. I'm like, "Hey, nah, how are you?"
Right. Yeah. When you do the "How are you?" like
Talk
with the
about
eyes.
it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. That's my Denzel look. How not But no. When I mean it, I mean it, and so I feel like people are so used to people are so used to other people being so disingenuous with simple phrases such as how,
Yeah.
because they know you don't. They feel like you don't really mean
You don't really care,
it.
and you're like, I'm asking. I,
That
I,
actually
I, I
hurts.
do I do
That,
care. Yeah. But
that's actually
it's just as simple as that, right? Like, how are you? Like, if you ask yourself that every day, and just like, again, this is going to take work. Ask yourself that every day, and then write it down. Just like a sentence of how you're feeling every day. I am feeling, but at the. Do it the next day. I am feeling, but at. Like, it will build this thing where you're like, like, yeah, do I honestly feel that way? Or is like, do I need to get more deep with how do I need to get more expressive with how I feel? I'm going to be honest with you, man. I did a whole video about it too, like a little TikTok video about it. The terminology of like, makes me feel some kind of way. And I'm like, bruh, but what is that way? Like, I don't understand what way. What way? What are we talking about, man?
Yeah. You have to dig. You again, going back to me saying the strongest, most powerful question is the question of why. So when people like that makes me feel some kind of way. Okay, what is that?
What way?
And then
And
why
why?
do you feel like that?
Right.
So that way, if you want to feel like that, cool. If you don't, then you'll be able to combat that. But again, you'll just be like, I feel funny. Oh well. No, man, dig deep. Figure out
Right.
what it is. Figure out what it is. I know it's uncomfortable. Ooh, it hurts. It might not even be the other person's fault. It might be something that you inside you that's the problem.
Right.
But
It's the I think the problem with a lot of things is that we learn how to describe a lot of things that aren't important. You could if I asked you about clothing brands, if I asked somebody about car brands, you could describe to me different car brands and maybe even a few like of the colors of the car or like maybe even the rims. Like like you could describe to me if they're a car person, you could describe to me the engines of like what I mean. You could describe to me some non-important things, but if I asked you to describe your feelings, you couldn't do it. Like most people can't. Most people don't have the terminology, the verbiage to be able to do it. But like it's simple words like happy, sad. It's like the simplest shit is not the easiest shit. And it's the same thing with like the gym and working out, right? Like the simplest workouts are not always the easiest ones. A simple lunge is not always the easiest for somebody that's never gone into a simple push up. Simple is not always easy, but it is effective. And so like understanding that like, hey, I can use a word like I feel joy. I think this is what joy feels like, like I feel happiness. I feel sad. Why do I feel? I still feel like kind of melancholy. Do I feel kind of like, like just like disappointed? Is it embarrassed? Is it shame? Like, what is the sad that I feel? And there's a helpful tool for anybody that like, if you want to try this at home, there's a thing called a feelings wheel. You can Google it, feelings wheel, and like they are incredible because it has like an inner layer of like 6 emotions, an outer layer of like 10 emotion, then like an outer layer of like 12 emotion. Like you can get specific and just start from the center and sort of be like, oh yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Like this is very helpful, and it looks like some shit for kids, but like fuck it if it works, right? Like I've used it before to be like, yeah, I wasn't sure, but I knew I was like disappointed, but like, okay, it's more like this. All right. Yeah, I like that. And then knowing is half the battle, bro. Knowing is half the battle for anything that you want to get better at.
take the time to get to know yourself. That is really, and I don't mean weird freaky stuff, but take the time
No,
to
you got
internally. You know what I mean? And
right.
where the danger is, where the dark stuff is, the stuff that'll make you sad, the stuff that'll make you laugh, the things that'll make you cry or happy, or you have to go inward, to figure out who you are and who you
Right.
to be.
Right.
People don't want to go there; they just want to be right here on the surface. And I'm like, you're so much deeper than that. You are so much.
And you're so much better than that. Like, don't sell yourself short, man. Like everybody out there, if you're alive today, you're perfect. You're great. You're awesome. Like, and just continue to be that way. But don't ever sell yourself short. Like, life is too short for all of us. And I might not be here tomorrow. You might not be here tomorrow. Somebody out there watching, they might not be here tomorrow. But like, don't sell yourself short today. Like, I'm not telling you to go rob a fucking bank, but like, obviously, make if you can do something self-improvement about it, like. Do it for yourself, man. So, Maurice, let's start to wrap this up, man. Okay, so you got a big project coming out, the Chasing Rain for people that maybe not were here. You got the preview trailer coming out tomorrow.
Right.
Blast that out, shout that out, man.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure what time the trailer is going to be. I'm hoping for 1 p.m. Not Central Standard Time. What am I? What am I? Oh, Eastern Standard Time. We had a thing, and I was like,
we had a thing earlier. The thing.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. The teaser trailer will be out for Chasing Rain. And if I don't know if you can take a look at the different shirts I have on the wall, those are the different films. And we got Urge, which comes out next year. Pink Fight, which is out on BET. Her.
Nice. Atlanta.
And then that's my jacket. I just put it on.
That's just from my wardrobe.
But yeah. So yeah, just be follow me on Instagram, and I will be putting up the Chasing Rain trailer tomorrow. And
Facts.
let me just say this. Let me say this.
Yeah.
I did get to see a first draft. I had not seen this new draft. I did get to see a first draft of the trailer, and it looks amazing. Like it looks amazing. Like with the action and the way things are just going, and the guns and the fighting and the awesome. It just looks. So I'm really excited about this new version. The Bateman brothers did an amazing job with what I saw so far, and they've been really great to work with. So
nice.
Yeah.
Excited for it. Tomorrow it drops. Everybody, go check it out tomorrow. Maurice, where can people find you, man? If they want to follow you, take over the show real quick. Just shout yourself out. Do all the stuff.
Oh, we got to do all the stuff. All right, cool. So. I'm very easy to find. You can see my name right down there. Maurice P. Kerry on basically all social media: Twitter, Maurice P. Kerry, IG, Maurice P. Kerry, Facebook, Maurice P. Kerry on just basically everywhere. Except I'm also on Twitch too, and on Twitch, I'm a gamer.
Yeah, he games.
I'm a gamer, and I got my nerd. I really want to be in a Transformer movie. Like I really want to be in a Transformer movie. Really. But no, on Twitch it's K-Mo_P. So K-Mo_P. And same thing on PlayStation Network. So y'all can find me everywhere, man. I game, I talk, I act. Yeah.
Love it.
And feel free to hit me up. We can chat. And, share my shit. I'm an artist.
Yeah. Ask him about acting. Ask him about game. Ask him about dating advice. The man's got some. He got some little insight. When he knew the movie trick, I was just like, oh, all right. We eye to eye right there.
Exactly. I will say the only caveat to the movie theater thing. The only caveat is if it's one of those dinner ones. Like if you could eat dinner and watch the movie. So the trick here is that you get a big plate of something that's shareable.
Mm-hmm.
Then you guys are kind of like, girl, you had last one. You can interact while watching the film. But make sure it's a rom-com.
So I'll give you like my little 2 cents on that. So here in town and expansively. Here in town, though, I think this was where it was made. Alamo Draft Houses, which is what the like movie theaters like that are, where it's like you go in, they have the little servers, they bring you food, it's a full fucking menu. It's not $8 for a fucking Coca-Cola. You can get an actual beer or a mixed drink if you want to, whatever you're into. But at all the Alamo Draft Houses here, or like any other places, they usually have the bar area. So like meet up an hour before the movie. Get the vibe. All right, you caught a movie. You're either into it or you're not, and you'll figure it out right after. But you want that gappage of time where it's not just we're quiet the whole time either. That would always be my little like, all right, if you're insistent on doing this, like do it this way. I think this will be probably it'll work out very well for you. So
I gotta give one more.
Okay, okay.
So this is, and any ladies that are watching, I'm sorry. This is my thing though. This is. I like to. I don't know. Are you familiar with not Andretti's? Are you familiar with Andretti's? Like Mario Andretti? Okay, so it's like Dave and Buster's, or like one of those like bars with like all the games.
Yeah.
It's huge. It has go-karts. It has indoor go-karts. Laser tag.
That just sounds like a blast.
Yeah. So listen, it's got food, and it's fun. And so
Renee knows what you're talking about. She knows the Andretti's.
You know what I'm talking about, Renee? Yeah. Andretti's. Listen, for just a fun date that is no pressure. You can still have all the food, and you can pay each other attention. You can be competitive and all that stuff. Any those type of places like Dave and Buster's, Andretti's, anything where you can be competitive, have fun, laugh, have some drinks, play basketball, lose on purpose, fellas. I'm trying to help you out here.
Nope.
Nope. Fuck you. Fuck you. Get your game up, bitch. So yeah, any of those things, guys, low impact, just that. Trust me. Take them there. Get goofy. Be silly.
No, it's just an obstacle course. An obstacle
Yes.
course. Yes.
Thank you. See, I ain't never even thought of that.
I love it. I love it. I love that we have a couple places. It's not like that, but like basically that, but not in Andretti's. And I think it's a fantastic. But I think the most important thing is it's have fun, right? If you're doing something that like you're like not main event. We have main event here in Austin. In Austin, main event. Same shit. We have some a little bit different too. It's like another thing called pinballs, and they essentially have the laser tag, the little ride, the little indoor bowling, yada yada.
Because it's so low. Like you don't need to.
Low pressure, bro. It's low pressure vibes.
Like we're gonna go here. We're gonna be stupid, be fun. It doesn't matter. Whatever. If you win, lose, whatever. Let's just go have fun.
Yeah, you win, lose. You're probably gonna lose, but yeah, I'm just. Either way, but yeah, I think that
you're gonna lose. Air hockey is my thing, though. Like I love air hockey.
I'm an air hockey person. I do not let. I like the first two. I'm like, oh, let me see. I kind of Floyd Mayweather it. I kind of figure your game out real quick, and then I'm like, da-da-da!
Yeah,
no, you don't even do that.
I don't even do that. Air hockey, I get no quarters. No
mercy. No mercy.
I'm coming for your neck. You hear me?
Oh, he got crazy eyes out. Like, you don't want to mess with that.
You hear me? I'm coming for you.
Oh man, I love it. I think that's great advice. And again, everybody, reach out to Maurice, Instagram, Twitch, all that Twitter, all the places. Reach out to him.
Come on, I talk back. I don't have a blue check mark, so I talk back.
But when he does, listen, nobody hearing back. I'm gonna be like, Maurice, hey, you remember me? And be like,
got you. You money.
Love it. And while you're on all those social media platforms, feel free to follow me, Money Blakeweather, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. You can follow the podcast, Unfiltered Bachelor, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it's not Snapchat. Nope, I lied. That was a lie. I just want to make sure you're all paying attention. But you can follow it on your favorite podcast app. If it's Spotify, if it's iHeartRadio, if it's the Google Store, if it's Amazon, everywhere podcasts are, that is where the show is. Hopefully, Maurice, I'd love to have you back on, maybe a little bit after the holidays, and a little bit crazy with, all that and stuff, but I think it'd be great to have you back on. Maybe if people send you questions, like we can do a whole segment, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So
I was just thinking I would love to do it again.
Yeah, it'd be great, man. It'd be great. Hopefully, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, all the comments, and just came out and showed love. And again, whether you're listening to it now, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this, I do appreciate you. And until the next time, we will see you. Peace.